Alright, there we go. Hello everybody. In this video I want to talk to you about roster balance and tier lists in Tekken 7 Fated Retribution. This is actually the second time I record this video because I just made a complete rundown on the list that you're seeing on your screen right now, and where I talked about every single character and where I think they belong in the tier list. And that video ended up being over 2 hours long, and my voice was almost completely gone by the end of it. I don't know if you can tell, it's a little bit coarse right now, and I sort of decided by the end of it that that wasn't going to be very digestible or very useful for a lot of people. So I wanted to go back and redo this in a little bit of a more constructive way. So the main conclusion I had in my initial video was that I think that this tier list is actually very good, and that it very accurately represents the way the characters in the game stand right now, with like a few exceptions that would be like my personal modifications to the list. So instead of giving you a rundown on every single character in the game, I thought I would just go back and talk about what I would personally change about the list to make it a little bit more accurate, in my opinion. Because I love talking about tier lists. It's one of my favorite subjects in fighting games. I study tier lists a lot, even in games I don't play, because I think it's kind of a fascinating subject that is kind of specific to fighting games. And it's very interesting to look at how like a tier list translates into what actually gets used in high-level tournament play and so on. So yeah. That's what this is gonna be, and because I didn't need to show you guys any kind of gameplay in this video, I decided to actually put my face in for the first time, which is kind of nerve-wracking. I'm sorry, my face is looking very shiny right now. I don't know if you're interested, but we actually just entered the rainy season here in Japan, and for a week now we haven't seen a single drop of rain, despite that it's been brilliant sunshine every single day. And right now the government is saying that we might actually end up with a water shortage, and we won't be able to flush our toilets. So that's also something that's kind of nerve-wracking right now, but whatever, that's by the by. What this video is going to be is I'm going to talk about this tier list that you see in front of you right now. I've linked it in the description. It's been making the rounds on the internet lately. I think it was initially published on avoidingthepuddle.com, and I'm going to link it from avoidingthepuddle.com, so definitely check that out for further reference. And two other quick footnotes before I get into this about how I'm going to talk about this. The C tier, which is the bottom tier on the list that you can look right now, is where I'm going to put characters that I do not recommend for competitive play. And I'm going to use that as sort of the dumping ground for those characters. They are very few, and obviously Tekken is such a balanced game. It needs to be said that even characters in the absolute bottom tier can do really well at the top levels of competitive play, but these characters are have enough disadvantages that I would not personally recommend them if you're trying to pick a main and you want to play competitive Tekken. That's all I'm going to say. And then the other thing is that when I'm gone through my personal changes to this list really quickly, I'm also going to mention where I would place the 5 console release characters that aren't in this list right now, and where I think they are eventually going to end up in terms of relative strength, based on the experience I have playing console so far. So getting into this tier list, like I said, I think it's very accurate, but if we start at the very bottom, Lucky Chloe is seems to be considered in terms of this list the worst character in the entire game, and this is where I want to start my discussion. I personally believe that Lucky Chloe, while she is a weak character, is not necessarily the weakest character in the game, and I'm not even sure I want to place her in the C tier with these characters that I'm going to call almost sort of unusable. She might belong there. She's probably one of the bottom 5 characters in the game easily, and she might even be bottom 3. If she belongs in the B tier, she belongs at the very bottom of the B tier. And the criticism that she gets a lot of the time is that she is, you know, very gimmicky, and then once you figure out her gimmicks, she becomes very easy to deal with, and so that sort of means that she's just going to gradually get exponentially weaker as the game gets older. But I honestly, personally think that there are some things that Chloe can do that outside of her gimmicky stuff that is kind of interesting. I think her hop kick can do a little bit of interesting stuff in terms of setups. She has a useful power crush. She has like an interesting standing 4. So there's some stuff there to make Chloe a little bit stronger, in my opinion, than she is given credit for. But definitely one of the weakest characters in the game. I also want to talk about Gigas, who's in the bottom tier here. Gigas is one of my personal main characters that I played a lot. He might be the character in Tekken 7 that if I'm completely honest, I've spent the most time with in the arcades. He is also definitely one of the weaker characters in the game, but I do not think that he is unusable. I think he belongs at the very bottom of the B tier, so he needs to be bumped up a little bit, because I think that, you know, outside the fact that yeah, he has shitty movement, he's kind of punishable, he kind of relies on highs a lot, he has some super powerful counter hit options. He has really good lows. I think that down 3-2 is like one of the best low strings in the entire game. I love down 3-2. I think it's absolutely amazing. And I also think that Gigas, as long as he's not playing against a small target like Xiaoyu or Chloe, he can actually get really good damage out of his combos. And he's sort of like known for not getting that much damage out of his combos. And that's just not true if you do your ground pound finishers, the down for 1+2, 1+2 string. You can get some really premium damage even off of generic launchers, and especially if you get the wall with him. And once you get the wall, you know, you have the overkill, the super powerful wall throw and all that stuff. He has his great rage drive and his mix up that he sets up with his back two. And I think he is usable, but not necessarily all that good. So maybe C tier, maybe bottom B tier. I personally love him and I think he's great. And I think his 10 frame Punisher is amazing. You know, he has 10 frame wall splats and everything. I think he is underestimated, but you know, call me a low tier warrior. I'm probably wrong. Lars is placed perfectly in this list. He is one of the he is one of the worst characters in the game that is still usable. He's usable but shitty. And he used to be one of the best characters in the game. Now he's one of the shittiest because not because of Lars changing, but because the game around Lars changing. You know, he was perfectly tailored for a sort of tag assault bound based combo game where he was like the best comboing character in Tekken Tag 2. Right now his combo is still strong, but his launchers don't really have that much traction. You don't really see Arc Blast used all that much at all anymore because the range isn't too great and it's punishable. And he lost his down forward to counter hit move, obviously, which hurt the character as well. I like Lars. I'm still going to play him. I'm actually thinking I might give Lars a lot of focus this week and try and develop him as one of my main characters because I love his combos. Yeah, he's definitely weak. The only like in terms of the B tier, the only other two changes that I would make is I think that Kazumi and Yoshimitsu both belong in the bottom tier in this game. I personally think that Kazumi might be the worst character in Tekken 7. I absolutely hate her. I love her as well, obviously. I play her a lot, but I think she is dog shit in a lot of senses because her hotkey is the worst hotkey in the game. It has no range and it's her only 15 frame launcher. She has no really like super strong safe options that she can rely on outside of that, except maybe, you know, her running 2. When she plays against a character who's turtling, she completely fails to mount offense because she is like the one character in the entire game that does not have good lows. She has no lows whatsoever. She has low pokes, her own version of like the stature kick, but not a single like knockdown low outside her like fly stance 3-2, which is a super telegraphed launch punishable move that you have to be super careful when using. Her down forward 1-2 string, which is sort of the core of her entire gameplay, is launch punishable by Kazuya, which basically means that she cannot beat Kazuya. She's one of the few characters in the game who has really bad matchups, and you know, bad matchups in Tekken is kind of a rare thing. I don't really believe matchups is that big of a deal in Tekken. I think she's one of the bottom 3 characters in the game, and she is bad enough that I would not recommend you use her at all. Obviously, some people are achieving amazing results with Kazumi. Just be aware that if you're going to play her, it's going to involve a lot of work, a lot of jabbing, a lot of down forward 1, a lot of movement, a lot of low poking, and overall, you're just playing with very generic Tekken tools. So you could probably play good Kazumi and then apply that to any other character in the game who also has good stuff overall. There's no reason to sort of neuter yourself by playing this character, in my opinion. Her main with punishing tool, her down forward 2, which is the big tiger uppercut, does not lead to good damage. And when you have a balls to the wall launch punishable huge launcher like that you want to use for like big whiff punishers, you should be able to convert it into good damage, and she just doesn't. I mean, she get like 60 damage. I personally think that is a launcher that should give her somewhere in the range of 70 to 75 for how minus it is on block. So yeah, Kazumi in my opinion is not very good. I still like her and I still play her, but there's a lot of frustration to be had with being a Kazumi main, so my personal advice would be stay away. Yoshimitsu is gimmicky. Yoshimitsu is not very good in terms of his damage output. And Yoshimitsu should only be approached by players who love Yoshimitsu, and those are definitely out there and they can achieve amazing results. I think he belongs in the C tier with characters that probably aren't good enough that you should invest a lot of time in learning how to play them. If you want to learn how to play Yoshimitsu, then it's going to take you a lot of time. But he's just kind of like gimmicky, like the same criticism people give Chloe, I would give to Yoshimitsu. Once you figure out a lot of the gimmicky stuff that he relies on, he becomes kind of easy to work around. He has a lot of duckable highs, actually, that he has to rely on, and once you get good at seeing those, you can launch him very easily. And yeah. If you want to learn how to play him, work on learning how to implement Flash, because I think Flash is a part of a very high skill ceiling in terms of Yoshimitsu. You know, it's the fastest move in the game, but it's very dangerous to use if you don't use it correctly. But Yoshimitsu and Kazumi need to be demoted to the C tier, in my opinion. Otherwise, I have no qualms about the B tier. I think it makes a lot of sense. Claudio is not as strong as people gave him credit for initially. He still has one of the most powerful hop kicks in the history of Tekken, and that's sort of his saving grace, along with the fact that his forward 3 is a ridiculous move. It is a low crushing, homing, safe mid that also spins your opponent. And like it does everything baked in a single move. It has great range, and so it's like you can just do forward 3 a lot of the time, and then obviously you have that hop kick. You have some half decent lows with like sidestep 4. You have the running 2 as long as you're not obvious with it, so you get ducked. He gets really good, very easily good combo damage, because all he really needs to do to get his combo damage is launch and then spin and do the running 2, and everything you do in between in terms of like combo fillers is kind of arbitrary, because so much damage is locked into specifically the forward 3 spin move and the running 2 combo finisher. But yeah, he's a good character, and he definitely deserves to be considered the top character in the B tier. The A tier, in my opinion, is almost perfect. The only 2 caveats I'm going to go in with here is that I think that Shaheen is underestimated and he needs to be placed higher at the top of the A tier, along Jin and Heihachi, or maybe even into the S tier. Shaheen has a tiny usable move pool, very few moves that are useful, but they're super good. He is one of those characters that has access to the slide mix-up that Lee and Law also apply. That's very good. His hop kick is extremely similar to Claudio's hop kick, which I mentioned is one of the best hop kicks ever in Tekken, in terms of like it doesn't move you forward while doing the hop kick. The animation is stationary while having an extreme amount of range, and so what that does is a lot of the time your hop kick actually outranges your opponent's ability to 12 frame punish it on block. And so you can almost use your hop kick as a keep out tool, which is kind of crazy. And a lot of the time he does it at tip range, and your opponent tries to punish it at 12 frames, but because of the range being so good, their punish whiffs, and then he just does another hop kick. So he sets up the hop kick with the hop kick, which is obviously crazy. He gets premium damage off of all of his combos despite being trivial to perform. You can learn how to play decent Shaheen in less than 10 minutes. And that might sound disingenuous, but I'm saying it because I'm absolutely serious. He is, in my opinion, probably the simplest character in terms of input in the game. But he is super good, and he deserves to be respected as such. I mean, for a while, he was considered the best character in Tekken before he was slightly nerfed, and he was not hit as hard by that nerf as people think, in my opinion. Master Raven, in my opinion, is also a character that needs to be promoted to the upper part of the A tier, maybe the bottom part of the S tier, and the only reason she isn't up there at this moment is the fact that she is one of the most technical characters in the game, in my opinion. But you can achieve so many cool things with good Master Raven play, and when you see a really good Master Raven player, it is just a sight to behold. She's like visually probably the most impressive looking character in the game. It's like a light show. She's all over the place. It looks amazing. Obviously her combos are crazy, her back turn stuff is crazy, her wall combo is like the longest and most powerful one in the game. She has useful unblockables, she has amazing lows, she has long range, she has above average throws, and I think, yeah, the only reason she's not explored and considered to be stronger at this moment is too few people have devoted themselves long term to being really high level Master Raven mains. But when that happens, I think she's actually going to be bumped up, because I think she's one of the stronger characters in the game and one of my personal favorites. Unfortunately, I haven't put the time into becoming really good with her. I just kind of mess around with her online, but I have so much fun. I think this character is spectacular, and I think the redesign from the sort of generic Wesley Snipes style Raven to the way she looks right now is just super cool. Like, the concept is so cool. It's such a great idea to have like a middle-aged black woman be a cybertronic ninja. It surprisingly, perhaps, like, it meshes really well and it looks awesome. So I love Master Raven, and if you want to be good and play like a technical, difficult character that is super fucking good, my personal recommendation in the entire roster would be Master Raven. Master Raven is fantastic in every single aspect of her design. Otherwise, I'm happy with the way this list looks in terms of the A tier. Heihachi is the weakest Mishima. His Hell Sweep is the worst Hell Sweep, but he's still a fantastic character. His Hunting Hawk is ridiculous. His damage is great. He's just Heihachi, and I think this might be your last opportunity to play him, because, spoilers, he's dead now in the story, so he's not going to show up in the next game, most likely. Unless he's like a zombie or something, like his dad in the previous game. So I mean, if you like to play Mishimas, you know about Heihachi, and your consideration is going to boil down to Heihachi, Kazuya, or Devil Jin, maybe regular Jin, and whether or not you prefer him is just going to be based on like kind of arbitrary factors. You know, he has the electric and he is super strong, but yes, he is the weakest Mishima. Boki or Akuma, I think is placed very well here. Me has been talking lately about how Akuma isn't a good character anymore because he's been nerfed too much, and I don't think that's true. I think Goki is still extremely strong despite the nerf, simply because of the fact that his pressure tools, like his jump-ins and fireballs, they aren't really designed for a Tekken environment. Like, we don't have anti-air as Tekken players, so when he's just jumping in, we can't really do anything. He has unseeable low launchers, which is obviously an abomination in terms of Tekken. We do not have unseeable low launchers in Tekken. That is not the way low launchers work in this game. Low launchers are super punishable, seeable moves that you should never actually get away with doing, and when you try and do them, your opponent blocks them, and then you have to be embarrassed because he blows you up for using a cheap, shitty move and trying to rely on like lag and stuff like that. But there are some unseeable low launchers in this game. Goki has a couple. I mean, Xiaoyu has her Rage Drive, which is one of the reasons, by the way, she's way up there. But I think he is placed relatively well, and I think he's super strong. I don't like the fact that he's in this game as a Street Fighter character who relies on projectiles and jump-ins. I would have preferred him to be redesigned as more of a Tekken character that didn't have Street Fighter style cancels and everything, but he does, and they're good. And if you like his style of character, then he is obviously good for you. And there are going to be more guest characters along the lines of Goki and Eliza coming in patches in the future. So if you want to sort of dedicate yourself to playing the Street Fighter style characters in this game, then I think you should focus exclusively on that and getting really good at maybe playing Eliza and Goki. And if you don't want to play characters like that, he's probably a waste of your time. You should probably focus more on more generic Tekken characters. Moving on to the S tier, I think this tier again looks very good. I think Steve belongs at the bottom of the sort of top tier. He's strong, but he's not as strong as the rest of the characters that are placed above him. And makes perfect sense. The only things I would change about the S tier is I think that two characters in this tier deserve a promotion to the absolute top tier and need to be considered double S tier characters, and they are Horan and King. King, as you can see, is already considered the top S tier character in this list, and I think that makes sense, but I think he needs to be bumped up even more. And the reason I think King is broken good is Like, he's the only grappling character we have in Tekken 7, right? So in my opinion, if you're gonna like successfully make a balanced grappling character, you give them super good grappling and then you make them not very good at some other stuff, and so that sort of balances out in a way where the grappling based character has to rely on grappling in order to be successful. But the way it is right now, King has just super good stuff outside grappling. I mean, great punishment, an above average hop kick, great Oki and wall game and everything else. So kind of a design failure in terms of a grappling character, because he's like the only character that's good at grappling, but he's good at everything else too, and that just makes him an all-around powerhouse. And you can play him not even utilizing his grappling, just learn how to do like instant shining wizard and do giant swing when your back is to the wall, and then just rely on his generic tools, and you're going to be very successful. He's a monster in this game. But I kind of like, you know, King is a classic Tekken character. He's beloved by a lot of people, and he wasn't that strong in the previous iterations of the game, so maybe it's King's time to shine. I don't mind it that much. But I think he's a top tier character, and I think he deserves to be considered one of the top 5 characters in the entire game. And then Horon. Again, Horon has insane damage. Horon has insane range. He outranges, you know, even characters that are based around the fact that they have good range, like Jack 7 and Gigas. He has some of the best combo damage in the game. I think his combo damage is actually disgusting. Like, sometimes when I get launched by like his power crush, I just need a shower because it's so ridiculous the amounts of damage that he does. And he's just, you know, a kind of a technical character that you need to sink a lot of time in if you want to play him at the highest level. Lower levels of play, he's very spammy and he's very just constant buttons, which is annoying to play against. But yeah, I think he's top tier when played well in this game, and I think he deserves a promotion. And then getting to the absolute top tier, the double S tier of this game, I wouldn't change a thing, more or less, besides the fact that I would add more characters to it. And that's something that is so interesting about Tekken 7. Normally with tier lists you have like a few top tier, like broken good characters, and then you have like a huge mid tier, and then you have like a small tier of characters that are kind of shitty. And Tekken 7 is super top heavy in the sense that we have a huge top tier with like a lot of characters that are completely broken good, and then we just have everybody else, which is kind of funny. Dragunov and Brian, in my opinion, stand out in this tier as characters that are at the absolute pinnacle of relative power. They are broken good, but they take, in my opinion, almost no effort to play, which is why I don't like them. Like, we have a joke here with my friends in Japan, where we don't say get ready for the next battle. We say get ready for the next Brian. Because when you play online here, in Asia at least, sometimes half of all the players you play against are playing Brian. Because they think he looks cool, he's one of the most broken good characters in the game, and in my opinion takes no effort to excel with whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, you can literally, and I'm not even exaggerating, sit down at an arcade cabinet here in Japan and play 20 games of Tekken 7 and play 10 to 15 Brians, and it can be super frustrating because, you know, he's got that orbital, which is way too safe for what it is. He's very rarely at any kind of frame disadvantage. Super powerful in every single way. His fucking knee string at the wall does too much damage. And I mean, Brian is known for being a technical character by some people, and I think that is a myth about him because he has that taunt setup. If you want to do like a taunt setup into like a perfect jet upper, that can be difficult to do, but he doesn't need to do any of that to be good. He can just press all of his super good buttons and just excel. Which makes me not like him very much. So please don't be another Brian player because we don't need any more. But if you want to, yeah, I can't lie, he's one of the best characters in the game and he is very easy to use. Same thing goes for Dragunov. Dragunov's running 2 is, in my opinion, one of the best moves in the history of the game. I mean, look at a character like Claudio, who has a very good, very usable running 2. Claudio's running 2 is a high, which means it's duckable and a lot shittier than Dragunov's running 2. And Claudio doesn't get any kind of combo stuff on counter hit, which means it's a lot shittier than Dragunov's running 2. And it's still a super good and useful move. What does that say about Dragunov's running 2? I mean, obviously you can sidewalk the running 2. But that is something even like the best players in the world don't really do consistently, even though it can be done. So most of the time what happens is you either get counter hit launched for more than half of your life bar, or he hits and he gets a huge chunk of damage and okay, or you block it and then he steals a free mix-up. So it's kind of like almost like a win button. It's such a good move. And you know, his down 2 is great. His bootleg hop kick is great. His command throw is great. Dragunov is stupid strong, and probably the strongest character. That is like his ratio of ease of use and relative strength is the highest of any character in the game. He is the strongest, easiest character. So if you care about being a top tier character player and you don't want to put a lot of effort into becoming good with one character, maybe check out Dragunov. Personally, just like Brian, he is so popular right now, and I play against so many Dragunovs that I have Dragunov fatigue and I'm bored of playing against him. Obviously both of these characters have like a snakeage style low sweep that the bad players will utilize online. It always comes out when there's a little bit of lag and your opponent gets desperate, which I think is pathetic, and I have very limited respect for people who rely on low launchers online. But yeah, there you go. Devil Yin and Xiao Yu are slightly more technical and take more effort, but still retain their position as two of the best characters ever in the game. Devil Jin is the best Mishima, so if you want to play the best Mishima with the best, Hell Sweep and the best stuff in terms of like a Mishima character, he will be your choice. You know, he's kind of try-hard and weird looking, in my opinion, with like a straight jacket and like, you know, black hair and yellow eyes and horns and everything. It kind of gives me eczema in terms of like how 90s he is, but in his visual design. But he's a fantastic character. His Hell Sweep is broken good. His laser scraper at the wall is broken good. Yeah, he's a great character. And then Leo, we finally get to Leo. What can I say about Leo? Other than I'm so happy to see her at the top of this list, because Leo is quite possibly actually the best character in the game, despite not feeling like cheap or broken at all. Leo is good because, in my opinion, she's just so well rounded. She can do everything. There's no situation where Leo struggles. Her combos are good, even though they don't do a broken amount of damage. The wall carry is insane. She has the Falling Leaf, which is one of the best big lows in the game, completely unseeable. Pokes are above average. Counter hit game is way above average. She looks cool. She's technical. And I mean, look at this character. It's not popular at all compared to like Dragunov or Brian, despite being possibly the strongest character in the game, just because people do not, I think, I mean, maybe it has to do with her visual design as well. I personally think she looks better than ever. I think she looks super cool in this game. But it might have to do with the fact that people just don't like, you know, they go into Dragunov and within 15 minutes they're like, okay, so I just do running 2. Okay, and then they main Dragunov because they get addicted to that really sort of super powerful, super easy juice. It's kind of like the fast food equivalent of a Tekken character. Whereas Leo, despite not being difficult, actually takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more thought to get into. But yeah, I love that Leo is at the top of this list because I like Leo. I think the design is fun. I think the design is deep. I think the character is not necessarily cheap, but I think the character is quite possibly the strongest character in the entire game. So another, along with Master Raven, probably personal recommendation for a main character for you if you want to learn how to play a deep, fun, strong character in this game. And then to wrap up this video, I mean, we've already gone for almost 30 minutes, so again, this video is getting to be way too long. I'm just gonna place those 5 console characters into the roster, or into the tier list really quickly. The Bears obviously live in the C tier, but if you like the Bears, now's the time to play them, because Akuma and Panda actually have good combos in this game and get really good damage off their combos, which is fun and crazy, and I love it. Off of all of their launchers, they can still do their hunting style mix-ups, which are strong, and they are, probably because of how huge and bad they are at movement and how punishable they are, still unfortunately bottom tier characters, but they're better than ever. And if you like the Bears, now is the time. I personally have a lot of fun just fucking around with Kuma online, because when you score his launchers, it is hilarious. And they have long range, he has great whiff punishment, and he does great damage. So yeah, but they probably live in the C tier, I'm afraid. Lee is probably, in my opinion, going to end up somewhere in the upper section of the A tier, or at least in the A tier. I think he is super strong. He has great poking tools. He's got good damage from wall carry, and we're going to see more and more Lee, in my opinion, as people get more comfortable with him and how he functions in Tekken 7. Specifically, obviously he's very new, and so he's kind of underexplored at this point, but don't be surprised if you start seeing a lot of really good Lee play in high-level tournaments during the next year. The same thing is going to go for Miguel, although I think Miguel is probably a little bit lower down, maybe like bottom A, upper B, bottom A, and I think okay, so I think Xiaoyu is what Yoshimitsu would be if Yoshimitsu was a really good character. You know, a lot of crush stuff, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of moving around, a lot of technical stuff, a lot of trolling, but Yoshimitsu unfortunately isn't really that good, but Xiaoyu is crazy good. And in the same way, I think what Miguel is what Kazumi would be if Kazumi was a good character. You know, very down forward one focused, a lot of pokes, a lot of moving around, just a lot of work. You got to press a lot of buttons and do a lot of movements, but Miguel is just a lot stronger. He has a great hop kick. He has one of the best backdashes in the game. He gets premium combo damage. He's fun to play. He is, I mean, I'm just going to come right out and say it, probably my favorite character design in the history of Tekken, and I'm putting a lot of time into Miguel right now, and I'm having a lot of fun. I think he's definitely strong, and he's going to end up being somewhere in the upper B tier, bottom A tier. Upper B to bottom A, in my opinion. And what do we have left? Eliza, I'm just going to say that she is probably in the exact same vein as Goki or Akuma. She's probably going to be strong for the exact same reasons. It's hard to counter projectiles and jump-ins in a game that isn't designed to have those things countered effectively. And that's frustrating. I'm a little bit sad because Eliza was a Tekken character in Tekken Revolution that we voted for and that we wanted, and then they took her and they made her not Tekken character in this game, but there's nothing to it. I'm probably not going to ever play her before that reason. But if you like to get into Eliza, look at what Nee is doing on his stream with Eliza lately. He is achieving some insane results and some completely disgusting combos with her, and it's a spectacle to behold. So I think, yeah, Eliza's going to be in the A tier, and I think she's sort of going to mirror Akuma in terms of how strong she is for the same reasons. The final character is Eddie, and Eddie is the only character that I'm not going to actually give a definitive answer on because I simply do not know. I don't like playing him. I don't mind the fact that he's in this game. I'm not upset about it the way a lot of people are upset about Eddie because I respect the fact that he's an iconic character. I think, you know, for a lot of people, Tekken 3 is the definitive Tekken game. I mean, how many times do you hear people say, oh, I stopped playing, you know, Tekken around Tekken 3 and I love Tekken 3 and I played a lot of Eddie. And he's an icon for a lot of people. Whether or not he is strong or not in this game, I've not been able to tell yet. But I can tell that his damage is high, his combos are good, and if I were to wager a guess, I'd say he also ends up in the A tier. But I don't know, he might be B. We'll see. I mean, he might be, for all I know, top tier. It's just too early to tell for me, but I'm really interested in knowing how you feel about Eddie in this game. Do you hate him? Do you think he's strong? Let me know. And that's going to conclude my discussion of the roster balance for Tekken 7 right now. Again, very interesting stuff, very top heavy, a lot of super strong characters, very few weak characters. I think the strongest characters in the game are represented well in this list, and I think it's going to be a very useful tier list for you if you like to use tier lists when you think about characters. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how this list evolves as time goes on, now that we have this game for console, and the rate at which gameplay is happening is so much faster than when this game was an exclusive arcade game. I am obviously very interested to hear in what you guys feel about this stuff. There's a lot of my personal opinion going into the discussion that I had here today, and so there are probably going to be a lot of people who disagree with me. Please educate me, let me know in the comments where I messed up and where I'm wrong and why. I'm really looking forward to hearing your comments, and I'm not saying that just because I want you to comment on my video. I love talking about tier lists. It's a bad habit of mine. I look at them way too much. obviously in Tekken, tier lists and mashups aren't a big thing because the game has inherent built-in balance, but it's still a fun consideration to make. So let me know what you think. This is going to conclude this video for me. My next character tutorial is going to be on Lars. It's already done. I'm going to upload it today if I have time, or maybe tomorrow. And so look out for that if you want to learn how to play a usable character who maybe isn't that strong in terms of like his tier list position. But I just love Lars. I really like his combo. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. And I'll see you guys again very soon. Thank you and bye-bye.